Not yet. Great. Welcome, everybody, to Senate Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. Today, we are pivoting again to economic development, which is exciting, and we're going to be addressing our business recruitment and international trade. So, to tee us up, we have the Deputy Commissioner of Economic Development.
I'm happy
Brett
to be
Long.
here. Yes, I'm Brett Long. I am the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Economic Development. I should check first. I assume Joan did not zoom in. Okay, good. At least I know where we are.
Well, I spoke to Joan last night at 9:30.
You're on your own. That's fine. It just,
I
can't see the screen.
She is not behind you, but she does have your back.
Excellent.
But she's not here.
Okay, good. So yes, I am here, or Tim and I are here to talk about the department's international trade, broadly speaking, efforts. And they fall into two broad categories. Those are supporting Vermont businesses that are trying to either break into or expand their international trade efforts, basically international sales revenues. And what we generally refer to as business recruitment efforts to try to get businesses, international businesses, to look at Vermont as a location for their establishment or expansion of. And we have found over the years that the principal area of attractiveness is Quebec. So we have, since I've been in the department, which is almost 10 years, we've spent a lot of time focusing on Quebec businesses. And so that it's clear, some of the attractiveness is that somebody who's in southern Quebec who has an established business can have a truck run to northern Vermont and back in the same day, so that the driver doesn't have to stay anywhere, or the owner, frankly, can do that. So it is a pretty attractive location for Quebec-based businesses. And there is a pretty well established corridor of especially high-tech and aerospace related businesses. You may have heard that from other folks. So we have, as I say, we focused on that in the recruitment efforts over the years. And in the last few years, we've actually hired a firm to help us with consulting and lead generation and marketing of Vermont as a potential location for these businesses, principally Quebec. But talking on the other side, how do we support international trade? We do actually have retainer agreements with a couple of folks who are on call for businesses that run into some kind of an issue. Tim can probably talk about that more, but we've had issues. We actually had a number of issues when the first Trump tariffs came into effect. From time to time, we get involved in particular problems that come up with USCIS. Usually it's border type issues. And then we have relationships with people like customs brokers to help the businesses establish those relationships or use those relationships to clear up concerns that they have. We also administer a program that provides funds from SBA that also helps businesses in their trade expansion efforts. It's called the State Trade Expansion Program, or STEP. The awards from this program can be used to create brochures or do translations or go to international trade shows, all kinds of marketing type efforts for somebody who's trying to expand their international trade. Those awards could be up to $20,000 per year. Tim can talk more specifically, but the awards we get are typically around a little less than $250,000. And so we work to spend those awards down and then do another application and get another round of funding. We also work with partner organizations to help businesses with export training. The one that first comes to mind is called Export Tech. That's been done with VMEC. Not sure if everyone knows who VMEC is, but VMEC is a nonprofit.
You mean our manufacturing?
Yeah.
In Randolph.
In Randolph, right. And It's part of a nationwide.
Got something yesterday.
There you go. So VMEC is part of a national network that receives funds from feds to support manufacturing around the country. So each of the states has at least, they're called MEPs, at least one MEP. We do a lot of work with VMEC in general, and VMEC has over the years been creating and providing these export tech programs to help businesses.
We are going to be doing a joint meeting with House Commerce, I believe, with VMEC in the next week or so.
That's great. They do a lot of really great stuff, and they can help you understand the range of businesses that we have in Vermont, because it's not always obvious. Having everything from Global Foundries to Beta to some very high-tech manufacturing companies like Benchmark Systems. It's really it's a fascinating range of businesses. So, I talked about the fact that we have this relationship with Quebec. We decided a few years ago, I think it was 2021, that it made sense to try to engage a consultant or contractor to help us with that. We went through an RFP process. The legislature provided $300,000 worth of funding to support that effort. And we hired a firm that we used basically since 21 through a couple of contracts. And Tim will get into the results of that work. But we got a second appropriation in 24 and have found that it's helped dramatically in creating a funnel of opportunities that we can look at and try to help these businesses. And there's a couple of reasons, so it's clear to everybody. It's not only convenience, but there are a lot of businesses that want to do business in the U.S. It could be because they're doing military business and they need to have a U.S. presence. It could be because of the issues that have come up with what's called Buy America, Build America, where you have to buy American-produced materials. So it's a nice stream of opportunities for us to work on. And what we've decided is that we'd like to expand what we're looking at into other areas where we have pretty good trade flows. So Taiwan and some other areas in Asia, and some areas, particularly in Northern Europe. So the idea is we're looking for $350,000 in base funding rather than one-time appropriations to be able to expand those efforts and have contractual help in generating leads and helping with consulting. And it also involves marketing in those areas so people know what Vermont's all about.
So it's in two. I had only appreciated that we were looking at Asia, but you're also looking at North America. Northern Europe.
Yeah. I think we would look at both. We already have a number of Northern European.
I was going to say, I thought we already had solid antenna in here.
Well, we have Northern European businesses that are operating here, but I think there's more. There's like obviously a strong synergy with what happens in Vermont, what happens in Northern Europe. So I think there's more opportunities there. And the idea is to try to flesh them out and exploit them. Any questions before I have Tim get into details?
No, that's a good tee up, because I think we're going to be interested in seeing the results of our now just under, what about $600,000 investment in Quebec?
Yeah, I think it's 450, 300 plus 150.
We did 300 twice.
300 and 150, 450.
Oh, it's only okay.
Oh, I do have a question. Would the Consul General from Quebec is going to be here on the 19th. His meeting with legislative leadership and so on. We've also set up a meeting with the senators who represent the border areas with Quebec. And there are four of us. I represent the western, one of the two who represents the western half of the bloc. There are two others, the eastern half, border communities. The question is, what do you think we should tell them, or what do you think we should ask them?
Well, we now are going through this for the second time, because we did this. We had the same issue with the first round of Trump tariffs. So our position is always that we're your partners. We understand the relationship. We want to do all we can to continue and foster that relationship. And we'll do whatever we can within the federal requirements. So we're making it really clear that they're doing what they're doing, but we're still here and want to continue the relationship and expand it to the extent we
Well,
can.
as we look at continuing the relationship, is there anything from your perspective that you think we should be looking for, that we should be asking for, that we should be saying that we're going to do in terms of border cooperation, other than what's the federal level? We obviously have a lot of commerce.
Yeah.
Even local commerce on some of the side roads, the small parcels
Absolutely.
that do business where somebody gets a tractor fix, for example, and a
Absolutely.
lot go across the border.
And lots of dairy that you didn't mention, but aerospace and dairy, I mean,
Yeah.
one of our favorite yogurts.
Yeah, right.
Going back and forth.
So again, if there are any things, and again, you may not think of it right now, but between now and then, would appreciate any input that you can provide of, one, what we should do, what we're asking them to do, what kinds of opportunities there are, particularly for those of us who are right on the border
Right.
with Quebec, to be able to look for, seek, appropriate, ask for, et cetera.
It's a great question. And actually, I'll have Tim sit in the chair and he might be able to provide details right off the bat. He has many more direct conversations with the Canadian.
Great.
Great. Thank you, Brett. That was terrific.
I'm gonna have Brett tee me up a lot more. I think that.
Right, do you have a question?
Senator Brock, as much as I don't represent a border town, my father's French Canadian from Quebec, Sherbrooke, so I'd like to be part of that, just to also express.
Sure, happy to invite you.
Identity.
You have to speak French stuff.
Great. And I think who's setting up that meeting?
I made the original coordination, but Ashley is handling mechanics.
Oh,
And
good.
it's for a half an hour right now from 11:30 to noon on the 19th. It'll be in Senate Finance. And we're trying to limit it to those people who have a direct relationship because of the water.
And I do know that Deputy Secretary Kate Brooks and I will be
Yep.
meeting them in Burlington on the 18th, so the day before.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Need to roll the red carpet out for those fine folks.
Yeah,
Well, they're basically, they come up with some regularity.
they do. They do. And we're very close relationships with them and, you know, through all their staff in Boston, you know, we have certain staff that we work
Yeah.
with a lot. So
Yeah.
I should introduce myself.
You should, and you have met everybody in this committee?
I know so many folks
Okay,
from, but not everyone. So.
let's go around the table. Thomas.
Assumption, and we met.
Keisha Hinsdale Singh District. Oh, Tim Tierney. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just put my prescription glasses.
I like that. Just fun glass.
I
Aren't they
I
fun?
think my glasses are the other way.
Allison Clark, Zubich District.
Randy Brock, Franklin, and the northern part of Grand Isle.
Good morning, Dave Wicks, representing Rutland County and a Canadian wife.
Oh, nice. You know, I can go back to that question that I think you just posed on before I move on was, so I mean, we are in constant contact with Canada and the provincial province of Quebec. Obviously, there's a lot of talk, and then you know, we actually brought a company last year that makes industrial snowblowers, like the ones at airports, these big plow trucks, and he assembled them partly here in the U.S. in Barrie, but he gets his engines from the U.S., brings them up to near Sherbrooke, near between Sherbrooke and Quebec City, makes them, brings them back, and actually has contracts with municipalities and airports in the U.S. He might be double or triple tariffed. This is retaliatory. So it's there obviously some people are very worried about those impacts that it's going to happen. I also, I mean, I'll be talking about this, but I have one company that we just talked to that's not on this list, and they're looking for a building, but now their Canadian dollars like 149. So for them to invest even in the US is going to be a major hit for these folks, right? So.
No, it's all the way around, not great moment. You know. And trade, you know, tariffs are like such a 18th century idea. I mean, they just are not part of our global economy. The forward thinking is just not, it's very discouraging.
Right, and I think we realize how integrated we are here, right? This is
Well, from our families, services.
Yeah.
So Tim Tierney, take it away.
so. I'm Tim Tierney. My title is Director of Business Recruitment and International Trade. I work in the Department of Economic Development. And I guess I will also sit on CSG East. I'm the president of that Eastern Trade Council, and also sit on the board of the New England Canada Business Council. So that's another. Those are other folks that actually have some really great data and points about this that I can get to all of it. But today I'm going to talk about CDEP, or the investment that we've made with our in-market representative in Canada, which has made a very big difference. And I think you'll see why it's important to actually maintain it down the road, and what a big difference it might make around the world having these agents that can actually be in-market reps to actually help Vermont. And obviously we're in competition with 49 other states and 6 US territories to attract businesses for direct investment into our state. And as you can see, that this is investment in Vermont. And that's a great fact. There's 68 Canadian-owned companies, and they employ over 2,000 people here in our state, right? That's a pretty amazing fact. And then directly supported, we have a lot of companies that are owned by folks from all around the world. And you can see that a lot. In Northern Europe, as we mentioned before, they have investment, long-term investment here in Vermont. We're going to go to the next.
At some point, you know, what I think would be lovely is that actually we had names of companies, because they're all over and embedded all over Vermont, and it would be.
Oh, that I can get you.
I think what
yeah.
I'd love to know is put faces on all these countries in terms.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick list is Peerless, which is a really large company up in St. Albans. They do the suits. That's a fast-growing company. Matter of fact, they just expanded up in St. Albans. I mean, they're doing very well, which is you know, we have Revision, which makes the military helmets up in Newport. Thank you very much. But I mean, there's so many different companies from large to small here that are doing well, right? So I can probably get you that list. That's a great idea. So
I just think it'd be important, particularly for this committee, to be aware of those companies in our areas and just aware of them, period.
yeah, we actually had all the names of all the companies we've been recruiting, and we realized, like, you know, this is going to be public. We shouldn't have these all the names of these companies that are
But the
looking
ones
to
we
expand.
landed-
But the ones we have, we can totally.
Well, if you have the list also, if you could, if they are not highlighted as to where they're from in Canada and where they had something in Vermont, to be able to make that connection, that also would be important.
Yes. Well, and obviously, your county has a lot of Canadian investment. I mean, H2O just bought Leader Evaporator. I mean, so it's not only like they're coming in expanding, they're also retaining Vermont jobs by coming in, and some of these companies that don't have succession plans, they're coming in and actually saving them in place. That's a great thing. That's a company that's growing as well. So a couple of years ago, I believe we might come out of this committee was the appropriation to actually
Right.
Retain a in-market representative. We got CDEP, which is based right in Montreal, and they have a presence in Toronto. And right away, we saw a big difference as far as the lead generation, right? I mean, they know the culture, they knew the commercial aspects. They put a lot of momentum out there, talking to companies about, are you thinking going to the US? Now, what is a benefit about Vermont is our proximity, right? That's probably the number one selling point, is the fact that they can actually start a company here and they can go home at night. And it's just a short distance away.
If they start it in Franklin or
Right.
or Essex
And that's why they some of them just want to be across the border, and that's why they want to pick it. They also want to sometimes pick the highway corridors, which makes the most sense for their distribution.
so that's great for the 3 counties up there, but
yes,
for
Unfortunately,
Rutland,
we lack a highway.
But you know, we have some companies looking at Rutland too, because actually it's access to the New York market. So
Yeah.
you can get up. So there are folks that look.
and there's a 4-lane highway for that part.
And obviously, and Bennington is another one people will look at that because the proximity to Albany. I mean, and which happens to be our closest port.
Albany.
Closest U.S. port. Montreal is our closest. Yes. So, but CDEP, what a difference it made actually going up there and getting this group of people. And obviously, it is a process. I mean, they're contacting, say, 60 businesses a month. They'll hear back from 12. We might talk to 4 a month. And out of that, we're working with these folks. And once that lead generation comes, they get it to us, and then it's up to myself and our team. And I think that's the thing. It's not just me, it's the team of our regional development corporations, our local chambers of commerce. I mean, it takes everyone to actually meet these people and attract them and find out where they want to be. And obviously, I think this came up as facilities, which I think Brett can probably verify. This is probably our biggest challenge, right? Is having the appropriate facilities for what a lot of these folks need and desire.
Yeah, Brett, sorry, just Brett has a.
Yeah, just to chime in, that's really, that issue is the origin of the proposal that we put forward for the RIDIF program, which was Tim is oftentimes surfacing a business that's interested in moving to Vermont, but isn't able to find space for them to locate in. And these businesses aren't willing to wait 3 or 4 years before a building is built. So the idea was through RIDIF was to try to get, particularly the RDCs, to have build space that would be available for these people to locate in.
Which we have
Yeah.
quite a bit of, not necessarily in the areas they want, but we have it.
Yeah. We could do better. Is probably the best way to put it. We have businesses that are interested in being in the St. Albans Industrial Park, but it's the whole process to get buildings built that are available, and it's expensive to build something and hold it vacant, waiting for somebody to go. The whole idea is Tim's now got a pipeline of people who potentially could go into these buildings as they get constructed.
Right.
And doing the same thing in Rutland, working with the RDC there to try to build additional space at the airport industrial park.
And I believe, right, and I've actually showed a lot of people the Diamond Run Mall at one point there too, right? And I think that's gone through various stages as well. So that's right. But I mean, we really have to go be aware of the statewide facility availability. I've been, I was down in near Bennington. We've looked at a lot of buildings in there, and so it's looking at available buildings that'll fit what these people need, and obviously, so
So do you keep a kind of a running list of open, non-occupied, available?
Try to.
industrial sites?
we try to. I mean, and also I try to keep in contact. We don't have that many commercial realtors in the state, so I try to keep in contact with all of them. And but that's probably, I'd say, one of the bigger challenges is the fact that, like, what's available that fits what you're desiring. Right now, I have a company that's looking for food grade. They want to. They got a contract with United Airlines, and they're making like the trade entrees and desserts. And they want to make it here in the US, but they need a 20,000 square foot building that has food grade ready. So now you got to go try to either find it or make a food grade. And guess what? We don't have 20,000 square foot buildings just lying around here in Vermont. So
In our proximity to major airports,
well, they're more that's trucking for
they're trying to
It's truck.
they're willing to truck it.
Correct.
That's right.
So, and you know, we also have a great rail here too, right? So people, that's more comments if you want some rail as well. And obviously some people just want warehouse storage, right? Which is, you know,
Keep going because we are now
Okay,
out
sure.
of time.
well, I can see that I'm going to talk about the pipeline that we've created here.
So, sorry, I'm just Liz.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
good to see you.
Nice to see you. I can wait. That's fine.
Okay, well, we're just
Sure.
gonna hang a little bit because we're supposed to be our time. I'm sorry, we're so engaged here that we.
I find it interesting. So.
Good, okay, great.
Well, so this is the pipeline we've had throughout the years, the year 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see that we've had 5 companies who we've actually attracted here to Vermont. Essentia was actually, we met them in Montreal at Select USA. Select USA is basically, it's run by the U.S. Commercial Service. It's a foreign direct investment events that they hold either in DC is a big summit, but they also have these smaller ones. And we go to Montreal and Toronto to see about companies that want to come down there. And Essentia is they do biomed, and they've moved to Burlington. The UCACA was funny because I went to a tech event and ran into a gentleman at a food truck that makes chocolate. And he's got 3 employees and at the food truck, and he expanded into Vermont here. Well, obviously Mavic's another one. That's my background is outdoor recreation. Mavic makes tires, bike tires. And, that's a great company that's moving to Waterbury, and they're a French company, but they had a Montreal base. So that's, so it has been working. And, it's great that I think without that help from CDAP from above, we would not have these people. And right now they've introduced me to other 3 companies that we're looking for facilities for as we speak, currently. So, you see, just a quick map of where they're all from. It's all around probably to prevent it's Quebec, right? Is where we're drawing folks from. I do want to say that we also, outside of CDAP, I have calls from a company in Belgium and Switzerland who makes flat electric cables, and a company that I just say Belgium, I just said that. And then we have Austria as another company looking here. So outside of CDAP, we have other companies that contact us through various means.
But what you're asking for is our ability to finance our asking them and being more proactive in terms of.
Right. I mean, and what Brett was alluding to earlier is that in reality, so there's some great places for us. Scandinavia is a really hot market for us. They actually have an association there that actually preps their companies to enter the U.S. market. We are the hottest market in the world. They want to come here, but they're making sure that they're ready and poised to come here. So they're really into, they love Vermont. We're very similar to them. Some of the folks are the social responsibility aspect of Vermont is some of the reason, but a lot of it is because we're very similar in terrain, people, and culture. So that Northern Europe, and Ireland, UK, Germany, and Austria, obviously we have a tie because we have a partnership with our National Guard over there. And that's kind of led to more in Austria. I went, yeah. And, but also, the Trapp family, and we have some businesses here. I mean, there's this Austrian tie that we need to work on and use it for attraction. These are just some numbers about, what CDAP has done. And they attend trade shows for us too. They also, another thing they do is if we have people that want to enter the Canadian market and they're a US firm, Vermont firm, they'll help as well. And through our contacts with the Quebec Consul General, and also a lot of the folks that we know, the AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, and the Federation of Chambers of Commerce of Quebec, we have a lot of ties that we can actually help some of our companies get involved up there if they want to enter the market. So
Yeah, sure.
Sorry if I missed this, but I end up having a lot of ties in Asia. And I just feel like it's a totally
That's what they're asking.
Oh great.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so glad that I'm
asking
gonna
for
tie this up with a bow.
no, I mean,
It's
for
okay, it was at
you.
the beginning.
it's key. I mean, obviously, I think we had a lot of interaction with Asia, and I think,
Yeah.
and then I think something happened up in Newport.
Yeah.
I think it was like
Yeah.
before me, but
Oh
I
my
was living
gosh.
up
I
there.
remember asking, I don't know.
But
So that's part of their.
and I think, and basically, I mean, beyond what CDAP's doing, we just created a corridor, and I think our biggest
Yeah.
industry, as you know, is our semiconductor. Right?
Yes.
So we just signed an MOU with the Quebec.
Oh, interesting.
And we realized that, by the way, so you got Fishkill, New York, Albany, which is
Yeah.
IBM and Global Foundries. We're here.
Yeah.
And then there's IBM and a lot of other semiconductor packaging
Right.
companies right across the border in Sutton
Right.
and Bromont. It's a straight line, and we are the middle star.
Right.
Right.
And that's something that we need to focus on. And we sent, I think, $50 million to Indonesia as part of the CHIPS Act.
Mhm.
And we need
Yeah.
to go attract those companies, because those companies could settle here and they could actually reach.
Help me help you lead a delegation to Japan, because there is so,
Japan.
But
I mean,
Taiwan.
Kyoto is the Vermont. I mean, their mayor was called the Bernie Sanders of Japan.
Yeah.
Kyoto Ceramics became Kyocera Printer. I mean,
I think Brett skis there all the time. too.
and they ski here.
I used to work for a Japanese bank.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And obviously India, Pakistan I have very strong ties
And,
with.
and we
like,
have
I need
we have
to
only
check-
one sister state, and it's Totarika, Japan.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So anyway, put me on your
Right. And Taiwan
lead,
too.
lead advance list.
Heavy engagement.
Yeah, of course, we
with Taiwan.
have with
Yeah.
Taipei is every week.
Right. So we need to keep ourselves.
Yes. So I'm going to, so obviously, this is, what we're doing with this CDAP. And
But
the
it is
deliverable.
sobering to see how many beginning in prospective company, how much work it takes to get a few.
I mean, it is. I mean, I guess you want to compare it to we become realtors to a fact, right? You're trying to attract someone to look at a house, and some people are kicking tires, or it's 4 or 5 years down the road. I mean, they're weighing all kinds of different things, but they're also looking at upstate New York. They're looking at New Hampshire. They're looking at Maine. They're looking at. So I mean, we're in heavily competition with upstate New York because they have a lot of funding, because they have a lot more population. They can actually, incentivize to a high degree. New Hampshire's put in a lot of money. They're traveling to Italy and Poland, and they're attracting people from those regions, mostly in the biomed aspect. So very right. So we're competing, right? Is the reality. And yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, we know that our fertile ground is still Quebec, right? That makes the most sense that we can bring people, but we do need to go to some other places here. And it's just we really need this investment in Vermont. I mean, it grows our population, it expands jobs and retains jobs a lot of times. This image tech from China, it's our first Chinese investment in Vermont. And we actually, hired the U.S. Commercial Service to go vet them, because you got to be, obviously very careful with them. But they're looking to expand, and they're a really growing company, and they were ready to go to Texas. What a great thing for Springfield, Vermont, right?
What was the tipping factor for that?
Well, I was going to say that really the opportunity came around because they identified this business they wanted to buy.
Yeah.
So they bought the business, and for scope, this is a very large Chinese company that has an operation in Texas that has 700 employees. So it's a very real choice as between whether they move the operation to Texas or expand in Springfield. And what we've learned through the Vepsi application is they're planning on hiring 50 people in this additional space that they're going to take on in the industrial park in North Springfield. So, we do have to walk the knife edge, because we get a lot of inquiries from very small businesses who really, they see their values aligning with Vermont. We have a harder time being able to meet the needs of a very large business who's looking to hire, pick a number, hundreds of employees. There aren't too many places where we can realistically be able to suggest that they'd be able to find those employees in a short time frame.
Right.
So this is a great opportunity. It's a reasonable number of employees. It's a large company, worldwide company, who potentially would be further expanding into that vacant building.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
We're very excited. So,
and actually tomorrow I'm going to a ribbon cutting of a Canadian-owned company in Newport. I believe the House Commerce is actually going up.
Yes,
and I
they
did
are.
hear Representative Cooper from Pownell wasn't very excited about driving back home from. But that's a company that's expanding and growing up in Newport, and part of our investment in that building that they moved
that was
into.
part of the disaster, right?
It was, yes. But yeah, so overall, right now, like I said, we have 4 companies. At 11 o'clock, I have a company out of Belgium that does carbon, yes,
Reductions.
thank you, for carbon reductions. And that's another reason, it's another Vermont. We are very green, we're environmental, renewable energies, and other companies look at that as well. So we have our strengths, right? And obviously aerospace is huge. And I believe our microelectronics is obviously big. I don't know if you know, 90% of our exports are semiconductors.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we have a lot of other activities. We have dairy, we have maple, right? We have other things that people will be attracted to here in Vermont, and a lot of it is in that food and ag as well.
Right. And
Our brand is another big selling point. So people come to manufacture here. I would say only Vermont and Oregon have actually a state brand name that means quality. Oregon, made in Oregon means like it's a craftsmanship kind of thing. It's just interesting.
Yeah. high quality craft.
Right. I made a joke when I was talking about like made in Kansas. What does that mean? And and then it had me, well, we're from Kansas. So, but I mean, it doesn't mean anything, right? Made in Vermont means something.
Keisha, you have something.
I do. I'm glad you got to the ag piece and because I do think that really sets us apart from a lot of other parts of the country. A friend of mine made me aware of his Cherokee Tribal Council working with indigenous folks in Maine on the cultivation of baby eel. And those baby eel are worth about $60,000 a bucket in Japan.
Yes, huge.
Yeah.
I
And
bet.
we don't really care a lot about our eels. So, I mean, I just don't think we know what we're missing out on
Mm.
until we start to build these relationships. I mean, I didn't know until I went to Japan, they have something called Vermont curry. That's one of their.
Right, their house curry, and that's what they know the
Product.
name. They know the name Vermont
Oh
House
my
Curry.
God.
Yeah.
So like, please let me help you help,
Well-
because I'm often invited,
Right.
you know, on Asian legislative excursions, because of my connections there. And, I just, there's so many missed opportunities I see
Yeah.
every day.
Well, or maybe not missed, yeah, maybe ones to grow, opportunities to lean
They've
into.
been missed until now, so
Right.
let me help you before
So
more.
Tim, why don't you finish up? Because
I mean, right, I could obviously talk all day about this because there's so much to it, right? So, and I just want to say that, right, that we are actively working on the tariffs and trying to get as much information as possible out there too.
And all your partners, this is where the other 49 states can help us lean into this very antiquated idea of.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, our North Carolina colleague just sent us like what they've done for the businesses, try to work the workarounds or programs that can help.
But
So,
we're hoping the 50 states will leverage opinion and change the trajectory we're on. In
Correct.
Vermont needs to get in the eel business.
Yeah, maybe that's really gonna be a business.
It's like,
So, I think that I just am sensing lots of interest around the table. We need language on this, which I'm not sure we have anywhere.
Yeah, Joan sent me
It's
a
coming.
note. It's last night.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we need it ASAP.
Yep.
We have 3 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. We'll get it to
So,
you.
and the app is for $350 so that you can expand this kind of an in-market connection with Asia and with Northern Europe.
It would
Yep.
be very helpful, I think, that in any ask that you have of us or language you have of us, to include some form of accountability. In other words, what's the return on investment for providing this money based on your experience of the money provided before? That could be narrative. It doesn't have to be.
sure.
Sure.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we need, obviously.
And another thing in there is actually getting a platform that actually identifies all available sites, facilities, the huge thing, right? So,
We don't already have that.
we don't, we had one that went down.
It had.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, but anyway,
so we are so grateful. This is terrific.
Yeah.
And we need to support our businesses that are here in terms of expanding their market opportunities and obviously
correct.
bring another opportunity to recruit people into Vermont.
Perfect.
And
Thank you.
Thank you. this is
Thank
an
you.
exciting way to start the morning. And now we're going to pivot to our smallest beginning businesses and how we get them to the point where they're looking at markets in Europe and Asia. Okay, Liz, you're welcome.
All righty.
Do I need to sign into the Zoom? It looks like he didn't do that, and you're sharing the slides?
you do need to.
I do.
sign.
Thank you, everybody. Tim,
Would you
Thank
like?
you.
I can-
Always great to see you.
I have the list. You got it, you have it handy? Okay, great.
and
Tim has-
April.
Tim has someone behind him sharing the slides.
I see. I was like, it looks like, and I looked like you, and I was like, okay, I don't wanna. And then usually my computer does some ridiculous echo thing, and I didn't want to embarrass anybody.
Participate in these,
So there's no I in team, but there is an M.
Yes, so you sign on, sign in. all of
I
you
have
can-
been with
Okay,
Germany.
I just,
And
or
there are lots of-
There you are.
Kim,
Okay.
while Liz is getting set up, David just asked a great question, which is when you have a trade show, even when it's not in session, I mean,
Sure.
actually, we have more time when we're not in session.
Either on this side.
We might like to accompany you, maybe one
Yeah.
or two of us could go.
That'd be great. You know, we have one in March that actually Jeremy Little's going up with me. We have an Aero Mark, it's called. Right in Montreal, right at their Paddock at Congrès. And I bring about 7 companies up. And it's more business to business.
That's what I'm looking at.
But I think,
without
that would be great.
No, let us know if we're able, because we can.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Kind of show the flag.
And then.
Yeah, and you can buy me dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all that money that we make, sorry.
Oh.
It's a
Not-
cheap day. It's a.
We're all cheap days. I'm the first.
So, speaking of return on investment, we just sent a company to a $3,000 trade show, and they've got a $500,000 contract at that trade show. That's a great return on investment.
That is the greatest return on investment.
But that's a great idea. So, and we also do reverse trade missions, bring companies down.
Sure.
I
So
hire
that-
a bus and bring them down.
Remember us in those reverse trade missions.
Yes,
We're here.
we'll do one.
And
I think
remember also-
actually Sherbrooke's where we're our target too. So.
The other question that I've noticed, having sat on the other side of the table, looking for places to put business operations in Europe and Asia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Countries and states typically ask people, tell people,
No, I
this is
think
what we have to offer, these are all the things you have to do. But very rarely ask them, what would you like? And that's just so critical.
Yeah.
And then that's the key question.
And
I think that's the key question.
I've heard that a lot. That's why-
Liz, make it full screen. Got
Is
it.
it not?
No.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's,
Thanks for
Okay, Tim, thanks a million.
I think it's as full as it's gonna get. 'Cause it's not really a slideshow or something.
Okay, great.
Um,
Liz, yes, you have not been in, you and I have worked together,
Yes.
but not everybody around this table has worked with you. So why don't we introduce ourselves?
okay,
I'm Tom Chittenden. I represent the southeast quadrant of Chittenden County.
all right, nice to meet you.
Facial Ram Hinsdale, who I hope will be back in a moment. Allison Clarkson into this one.
Randy Brock, Franklin and Northern Grand Isle.
Good morning, Liz. Dave Weeks, Rutland County.
Good morning. So I'm Liz Scharf. I am the Director of Community Economic Development and Food Security at Capstone Community Action. And I'm a resident of Middlesex. And I'm here today to talk about the Vermont Community Action Partnerships Micro Business Development Program. So we're kind of dialing back from what you just saw.
Exactly.
And we're going into the very small businesses that really are the heart of a lot of the economy in Vermont.
And which begins small, and we fondly refer to these businesses as micro businesses. We get a big bang for our buck on them, and they are entry points for all sorts of people. But lots of big companies or bigger companies come out of
Yeah,
micro.
some have. Yeah, for sure.
And you are speaking on behalf, I think, of all our CAP
All of our CAP
agencies
agencies,
for
that's
micro.
correct.
And
And
they
just,
all do them.
they all do them. Yep.
Okay.
And
So-
so here's just a list of the community action agencies that cover all of Vermont. You're familiar with them. If you're for your areas, there's Brock Community Action down in Rutland. And the Bennington area, there's Capstone, which is where I am, and that's central Vermont with Washington, Orange, and Lamoille counties. CDOEO works with Franklin, Chittenden, Addison, and Grand Isle counties. And Northeast Kingdom Community Action is up in Orleans, Essex, and Caledonia, and then Southeast Sevka is down in the Wyndham and Windsor area. So we cover the entire state of Vermont and offer services that support low and moderate income Vermonters. So everything from food shelves and housing supports for emergency housing, fuel assistance programs, utility assistance. And then what I oversee are, we also have the big Head Start and weatherization. So those are really big programs. And then I oversee the economic development programs, of which includes our micro business development for Capstone. So we are, I'm just going to quickly just let you know that we are seeking, the Vermont Community Action Partnership is seeking 1.65 million in base funding for the fiscal year 26 budget to support our 3 financial capability programs, which really do work in partnership with each other. So that is, we already receive money for all 3 of these programs, but we are looking for increases. So for micro business in particular, we're looking for an $87,000 increase, which would help support another position and also do some cost of living increases.
So we have, but this committee, just to give Tom and David a notion, we have advocated strongly for micro businesses. We have done, I believe, $1 million ask often. And so this, because everybody has different jurisdictions on this. The the micro business currently is funded at what level?
It is funded at, it's 98,000 per agency. So it's almost 500,000. It's like 490,000 is what you're providing now. And we're looking for an
No, that's
increase.
down a bit. So,
No, it's actually more. We used to get not that much. And it's only the last like 4 years, I think, that we've been what I call kind of fully funded. That allows us to support one full-time equivalent business counselor at each agency. We're looking for another business counselor because of the demand that we have for our services, and we're looking to just increase it for our cost of living. So, and then VITA, which is our volunteer income tax assistance program, we partner with our micro business. So we do free taxes for folks with 67,000 or less. And a lot of those people are also business, some of the very small entrepreneurs who just have simple Schedule Cs, and we'll do their taxes for them as well. That is funded out of the treasurer's office, and we are looking for an increase in there as well. And then for financial coaching, a lot of our business coaches are also financial coaches, because for a lot of our small businesses, they need to kind of start kind of from the ground up and with their own personal finances before they may be ready to launch into a business. So we have accredited financial counselors who often cross over and work with the micro business, or are themselves sort of half-time business coach, half-time financial counselor. And we are looking for a much larger increase for our financial coaching program to make that a full-time equivalent.
358,000.
Yeah, 358,000.
So, just wearing our jurisdictional hat, the financial coaching is primarily for pre-business venture coaching.
Yeah, yes, and for anyone who needs personal finance. So we work with anyone who has issues with their credit, with their debt, and student loans in default. So we'll work with anyone who has a problem or issue around their personal finance, or maybe it's just someone who doesn't know anything and they want to come and learn how to open a savings account or a bank account.
And on each of these, do you have total numbers of how many people you've coached and how many businesses?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I've got all that. In fact, so I came here specifically about micro business, but there is I have a couple little slides. I know that we're kind of behind schedule.
No,
So
that's okay. We're okay. So,
okay. So this past year, we have helped during our tenure, which is about 30 years, maybe 2,100 Vermont businesses. We've created thousands of jobs and leveraged more than $15 million in financing. And we do that through one-to-one business counseling. Each community action agency offers business workshops on a rolling basis. So there's always a business workshop that anyone can zoom into to learn about everything from business plan writing, cash flow analysis, marketing, social media, taxes, like what people need for doing their taxes. So it's all around really educating someone who comes in with an idea and doesn't really know exactly what the next steps should be. And all of our business counselors also happen to be longtime entrepreneurs. So they come to this work having been business owners themselves and know the ups and downs of owning a small business.
This is another opportunity, David, for us to go and visit some of these for me with Sevka and
Yeah.
you with Brock. Yeah.
And there's a couple little testimonies I have here of some businesses, and we can certainly get you a list of businesses too. So just in fiscal year 24, we worked with just under 700 Vermonters for business coaching and workshops. 73 businesses were started, an additional 50 business expansions, and 687,000 in capital was accessed by 65 businesses. And that resulted in 60 full-time equivalent jobs. And again, just on the right, here's a little bit about Vermont's small business landscape. So micro businesses, which are considered to be fewer than 5 employees, 51% of those businesses were micro businesses in Vermont. So it is a big part of our a big part of our economy is the very small, sole entrepreneur with maybe one or two employees, if that. I would say most of the people that we work with are really the sole entrepreneurs, and maybe a dozen or so in each CAP will have someone who expands and has more employees.
So and just curious, how do people find out about you?
Well, so we have a lot of referrals. So, we work with Higher Ability. So that's one of the state programs that will refer folks with disabilities to work with a micro business coach. They have a program right now where they're offering some grant funding that is accessible when someone starts to start a business and work with a community action business counselor. And then we get referrals it's a lot of it's word of mouth. We've been around for a long time. So we advertise our classes and our things on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And then we just get a lot of referrals we also get them from like the SBA. So the Vermont Small Business, like they tend to work with folks who may be more ready to start a business. And so someone may come through their doors and they may say, you know what, this is maybe better you start with the community action. Because we'll help them access, maybe less conventional loans like through community capital or some grant that may be available to them based on their income, that kind of thing. And so we are not, none of us are wanting customers, right? Like we definitely, CVOEO has a wait list now of 4 weeks before they can meet with someone.
Wow.
Because we spend a lot of time with people. This isn't like a one-time thing. A lot of our folks need a lot of hand-holding to get their business off the ground. It could be that they, really need to work on their credit before they can think about borrowing money to invest in a business. And because our business coaches also have a lot of personal finance background, we're very, very careful about not, encouraging people to go into something that isn't going to make sense for them financially, right? And so helping them walk through, scenarios or what might, this might not be the best business idea, right? So that's, we add value to that. Plus we also, offer a lot of additional services at the CAP agency. So we may actually refer someone, to 3 Squares for fuel assistance, right? Because they just don't have enough money.
Randy.
For assistance with the business, is there a financial background in terms of income level or where people stand financially in order to qualify for getting aid? How does that work?
Yeah, so we are limited to serving people who are 80% area median income or lower. So there is an income requirement. For our classes, we don't have an income requirement. We don't take demographics for the people who sign on to our classes. So we will have people that are just maybe out of the income scope. But the vast majority, I believe, of the people who even take our classes are also lower and moderate. And I would say, even though it's 80%, a lot of our folks are really quite low.
It's 80% of what?
Area median income.
The other question, you offer an awful lot of things that could be appealing to an awful lot of people if they're aware that these things existed someplace and who provided them. And it's a common denominator that I'm seeing for a lot of community-oriented nonprofits in Vermont, of which there are innumerable. I think we have more nonprofits today per capita than any state.
You're right.
Yeah. The problem is finding them.
Mm-hmm.
A person may have a need for many things, some of them are provided by your agency, some of which are provided by other agencies. I wonder, is there a directory anywhere of community nonprofits that list what they do so that people can find them?
211 is a place that, if someone's calling and looking for a resource,
211.
Yeah, would be able to provide that information. But you're right. I mean, I think that even, folks who, if I mention what a community action agency is, people have no idea, right? And so I often have to just educate someone like what a community action agency is.
That's what I'm finding also about people who have needs for financial assistance because of some personal situations that they have in which they're losing income and not being able to stay at their home and so on. And you're dependent upon one individual who may be a caseworker in some agency or other who knows about all these other things.
Yeah.
But it's in people's heads, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Right.
And there just seems to be a critical need for being able to get what you do out to people who would want to or need or don't even know that they need your services until they read that these kinds of things are available.
I heard this yesterday in testimony as well, that same thing about VITA, like how do you get the word out to folks that there's free tax preparation? And
Yeah, and some of our senior centers are very good at helping
Yes.
get the word out, but we all need to be
right.
that, it would be great for us.
And we're not that sophisticated, right? I mean, we have very limited budgets in our community action agencies. So coordinating efforts for marketing and things, we just don't have budgets for that. But
We need to keep
okay.
ourselves moving.
Yes. So anyway, Vermont, has the micro businesses is the heart of like Vermont businesses, right? There's a
Right.
lot of micro business.
We had our small business Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays ago.
And excuse me, I won't read these, but we work with all sorts of people and all sorts of businesses. So everything from like food service, restaurants, food trucks, cleaning businesses, construction businesses. This person over here is a writer. This person is a psychologist. So we do, we will help anyone who has an idea and help them, flesh out how that business is gonna roll out. And because of I will say our coaches, combined years experience is probably 100 of like coaching and business ownership, because each one of our coaches has been at our agencies. They're about my age, right? So they've been there for like 20 years. They've either owned businesses in the beginning and now are coaches. Some still own businesses and are coaching, like side businesses. And our businesses are often not just, a lot of people will actually work too. Like they'll have a job and this will be their side gig because their job just isn't enough and they are doing something in the evenings and weekends and just need help with that. So I have in here in your little handout, this is this shows by community action agency. I think I'm not good at starting sharing, but it shows you what each community action agency did, how many business startups, business plans. And on the other side is our financial coaching outcome in here. I think this is here.
Micro business is on
One side and financial coaching is on another.
Got it.
And then I did include, this is in regard to our micro business. I did include a nice letter that someone just sent us from Catamount Case Management. So we do receive, like you said, a case manager, right? People will refer someone to us for personal finance or business through like hospitals and things like that. And so this is just a nice letter of someone who was disabled, working with the Department of Labor, and our business coach, Rosie Gray, has worked with them and is helping this person, start up a furniture restoration business.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's just there's just a nice little testimony here as well. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the VITA tax and the financial coaching. But what I wanted to share with you was this sort of Venn diagram of how they work together. Because we provide free tax support, we have that in-house to be able to help the folks who are in our micro business program have their taxes filed. And also in financial coaching, for example, working with them on everything from personal finances, access to credit, the Social Security impacts. So a lot of our folks who come in don't understand, how Social Security works, right? And self-employment taxes. And, folks think, oh, I just need to deduct everything. And I'm like, actually, you don't want to deduct everything if you don't have to, right? Because you want to show that you have income, right? Because this is directly tied to what you're going to get for Social Security, right? And so having that educational background of financial counseling and tax preparation is sort of key to rounding out the services that we have.
No, they all go hand.
They all go hand in hand.
glove.
Yeah. And that's why, we're really looking, we have done financial coaching full-time at 2 of our agencies because we've gotten some really generous grants in the past from banks and private philanthropy. And the reality is that I feel like, we've gone to the well and it's kind of dry in terms of philanthropy and banks. Banks will give you at this point like $5,000, but it's what they really want to do is say, we'll come in and teach a class for you and count it as their community service. But really what we need is money to support the staffing to provide the services. And these are professional jobs. All of these jobs here are, professional, good jobs that are in Vermont, that are in our local communities. So the money is really primarily for staffing. We don't have, we don't put in money for conferences and things like that. It really is to help employ the people, these experts who are the financial counselors, the micro business, and the VITA tax folks.
So your ask of 528, for example, on that, the vast majority of 528 for financial coaching is just people to do it.
Yeah. And that's it's the expertise, and it's the knowledge to be able to support these businesses and make them successful, right? So that they can contribute to the economy in Vermont.
Right. And can you give us some example? I know Switchback is the one I always
That's
remember.
a big one. Yeah.
It's the one that has been, just been incredibly successful. Can you give us some other examples of ones that have made it? Not to Switchbacks.
Big, no, I don't think not like Switchback. We did, we worked with someone recently who, just had a very small idea. This was a couple of years ago, which was glamping, right? Or, in a little cabin kind of thing. And her business has just taken off. I mean, it's a full-time thing. People come to Vermont, they have a place to stay. And it started really small, right? I mean, she worked with one of us and, was like, oh, I have this little cabin I want to build, right? Rent it out. Now she's got like 5 of them. And, so I think that, again, focusing less on, having the vast majority of these businesses are not going to be like the businesses that they've been talking about from Canada. They're not. They're going to be the ones that are kind of helping support families and if anything, helping people with additional income above and beyond what they may be doing for work.
Right.
And helping, we do have a lot of disabled folks. So helping disabled folks have meaning in what they're doing, working with higher ability, and helping folks who otherwise may have decided to stay on Social Security disability. This allows them to get off of that or at least get less of it so that they can
For those of us who are interested in helping people move off of assistance and stand on their own 2 feet, this is an investment in the building block of the personal economy, of really small business. I mean, so in some ways it's great today to have both you and our international trade.
Right.
I think that's from the sublime to the ridiculous. And so it's just, it's very important that this committee, I think, support that entire range. I mean, that's what we're trying to do.
And you think about your own communities, right? Like there's so many people, you're a plow person, right? You're, the person who does
our cleaning,
cleaning
everything,
right?
Cleaning to plowing to food truck, to sewing to shoe repair to
exactly.
to it's a lot of service. What percent of service businesses would you say of these
The
businesses
service
of
industry.
are service based?
I'd have to look and see.
big. I would think it was
Yeah, I would imagine that it's big. We'd have to go in and look. One thing that we're not good at, and it really is not because we don't want to do it, but it's difficult to capture, and it's a lot of time to do it, is to follow up with the businesses
Right.
that we work with, right? And
Yeah.
I wanted to add two more things that
Okay,
are,
anybody have questions? We've got a minute or two for questions.
I just wanted to add that during COVID, I don't know if you remember, we did something called Embrace, which was a grant of several $1 million to small businesses. So those were the businesses that didn't have access to the PPP. Is that what it was?
Right. Yeah.
There's that personal protection, whatever. They didn't have access
Personal
to,
protection.
yeah, but they didn't have access to those, to the money that the federal government was giving out. And because they didn't have giant tax liabilities.
Right.
And so we were able to give folks grants of $5,000 to help them stay alive. And I was just looking at that list of folks that we had, that were supported, and there were like four out of the 5 people that were quoted in this report were still in business. I looked them up and I was like, okay, well, they're still in business. That's good. And then also during the flood, and I oversee this for the state, we have flood grants for small businesses. So that was called the Main Street Flood Recovery Fund.
Right.
That was something that the community action agencies just took charge of, and we're like, we're going to do this because we work with these small businesses. We have the capacity to do this. So not only are we doing things like, just regular business coaching and counseling, but when there's a need, we are there to support these small businesses. We're champions of them, so to speak.
So you touch on something that we really didn't focus on enough, but the need was identified on our Small Business Wednesday, which is after a company has grown a certain amount, we need better bridges and access to capital. We're going to have time to focus on that as much this year as I'd like to next year, and what the state's role is in that. But we need to track businesses once they come out of your shop and they're growing and they're on their feet. We need to be able to track their success and help them continue to grow with those key bridges of additional capital, additional resources. So we can help with, I don't know how we can help with capital. We need to figure that out. But I do think that we have set, to go to Randy's point, we have strong business supports and resources for people, everything from legal services to really good entrepreneurial and financial support. Marketing that maybe in a more unified and fulsome way, and making sure that we finance those resources, because clearly they are working well for many, many businesses of a whole range. So, any questions for Liz before we? Great.
Well, thank you so much for listening. And
do you have language around the?
One small question that I would like to ask, and that's regarding business services that are provided, accounting service, tax prep, all those kinds of things. Do you get any pushback from the private sector providers of the services that you're providing them, either for free or close to it, and it's affecting their businesses and this business that they might like to get in on in some way, shape, or form on the one hand, or do you partner with other businesses as opposed to providing your own people to?
Oh yeah, we partner for sure. In fact, we need more accountants, right? So like, we don't provide accounting services for small businesses, right? But we have, we make referrals, we have like lists of people in our areas but it's not long enough, right? Like we definitely need more of those. And taxes, like when we're doing business taxes, we're literally doing it for like the sole entrepreneur who uses their social security number, right, as their taxes, and doesn't have depreciation and things like that. So it's really like, oh, I sold this many and this is how much I spent on product, right? And this is how much I used my car. Those are
you actively go out and look for partners who are actually in business.
I'm sorry?
You actually go out and look for partners who are actually in businesses providing some of the same kinds of services that you do on a private sector basis to join with you.
Yes, so we also in our workshops too, will bring in professionals who, may, for example, something like accounting, right? Or marketing. Like we bring people in to help.
Yeah, and I
Educate.
bring CPAs in who are willing to give a percent of
Yes.
their time to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. And we certainly are not like taking, in fact, some CPAs will send people to our VITA program because they're like, you don't need, like, I'm too busy. You should go to a free place because it's basic taxes that you have.
But quite honestly, Randy, I think helping grow companies to the point where they can then afford those services on their own is also key. So I know
Okay.
we're.
Thank
ready
you
for
so
my-
much, you guys.
I know, I am reading you.